Poverty is everywhere. What up, guys? Total Control 871, and those were the words uttered by Stephon Clark's brother. I believe his first name is Savante Clark. I believe he stormed the mayor's, I don't know if it was the exact mayor's office or the mayor's city council meeting, but he led a protest into the, while the mayor was holding a meeting, a town hall of sorts, and well, he basically brought his protest in there over his brother's killing. Those were his words that he uttered when the cameras were trained on him, that poverty is everywhere. Mind you, while his neck was wrapped with $300 Beat headphones. I don't know, I didn't exactly inventory the rest of the stuff that he had on, but yeah, he's talking about poverty. Anywho, so Stephon Clark. This one's a tough one. This one I have not come to a conclusion on. Before I delve into Stephon Clark, I guess I'll maybe just simply rattle off a few thoughts about Alton Sterling. Alton Sterling was in illegal possession of a firearm. Alton Sterling was a drug addict and had drugs in his system, although what level and consistency I don't really know. If he was in the act of selling, hustling his bootleg wares, then I guess he was reasonably, he wasn't exactly a danger at that exact moment. With the Alton Sterling thing, I'm not going to get into like a whole breakdown analysis. Alton Sterling was resisting arrest because Alton Sterling did not want to get caught with an illegal firearm. This struggle caused police officers to draw their weapon and shoot and kill him. Did these officers know about the weapon? How much exactly did they know? I don't really know, but we're going to talk a little bit more after we wrap up the Stephon Clark issue about urban. I hesitate to say black because the unarmed shootings are definitely spilling out beyond just the black community, but the unarmed shootings, I guess we'll just call it that, the unarmed shootings primarily of black people, and police responsibility, urban black responsibility, police responsibility. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But Sterling, Alton Sterling, dude just simply should not have had a firearm, and he attributed greatly to his death. I'm going to stop just shy of saying that he deserved to be shot or that the shooting was justified, but the man definitely played a big part in his own murder. So there you go. All right, as far as Stephon Clark goes, so our liberal media is definitely spinning it. What is it now? They get the parents and the relatives and everybody and the grandparents in front of the cameras to talk about how their kid was in the process of turning your life around. It's always in the process of. So this is where our media already begins the laying the groundwork to put our little ting, our halo over our shooting victim. Now, so dude was, I don't know too much just yet, but it appeared that he had been trying to break into some vehicles and things of the sort like that. he was ultimately cornered and converged upon by police. I have zero doubt in my mind that had he simply stopped and surrendered, that he probably would have survived that night. Instead, he ran, he fled. Now, having said that, the police, the police officers did some things in this particular shooting that raise concerns. One of the things that we see is that when first, after they go to pursue him, chase him, what is it now? How does it go? Show me your hands, gun, 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 you know. But of course, that wasn't what was first said. He didn't get to finish his script, okay? What the police officer was doing, they were reciting, should I say, their scripted programming from the police academy. I can only assume, if not the police academy, then at the very least recent police training, retraining. Show me your hands, gun, gun, gun. The cop first catches up to Stephon Clark, and it's show me your hands, gun, and Stephon takes off running. So he goes to chase him again, and I think there was a couple of times where he goes to attempt to reinitiate his programmed response. This police officer obviously knows that his body cam is rolling, that other law enforcement body cameras are rolling. So what he's focusing on right now is making sure that his you know, P's and Q's, I's dotted, T's crossed, things like that. He wants to be able to say that, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that in that moment, this police officer was far more fixated and focused on a justified shooting, a justified murder. That's where his mind was at. Of that, I have no doubt. This officer was thinking about liability and not so much about self-preservation, or even the preservation of fellow officers or citizens in the neighborhood. This cop was thinking about liability and the fallout from, I hate to say it, but I think the P word might be applicable here. Premeditated. The way he starts and stops his scripted, you know, his scripted declaration, show me your hands, gun, 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 you know, the way he starts and stops his trained response. I guess that's what you'd call it, a trained response. This tells me that this police officer went into this situation with the thought of shooting and killing somebody. When their suspect fled, he saw that he didn't get to complete his trained response, and therefore he doesn't get to, you know, he doesn't get his green light yet, you know. So he's looking for a green light to create a scenario of a justified shooting. That's what's going on here. The cell phone, the cell phone in the hand. If I had to speculate, and I guess all of this is a speculation, he may have realized that he's about to be arrested, and he very well indeed may have been reaching for his cell phone to activate the recording, because, you know, well, what black person doesn't know how they're going to be treated by police? If you can get a camera rolling in time, then there is a very good chance that you know, you will stymie any kind of excessive force and hopefully, a lethal response. Of course, again, I go back to this would not have been such an issue had he stopped and surrendered there on the spot. I suppose it could also be argued that this wouldn't have been an issue if he wasn't engaged in criminal behavior. Okay? That being said, because this definitely has a really big Michael Brown factor. I think I've spoken about this before. It's always pissed me off that Black Lives Matter choose to become so mobile, choose to become so vocal. The marches, over really shady, shooting victims. I've always thought that they really needed to pick and choose their victims just a little bit better, okay? Michael Brown committed strong-arm robbery, prior to his being shot and killed. This fucking goon, he's snatching up the shop owner by the shop owner's neck and manhandling the shit out of him. Where was the cap and gown, Mike? You're a graduate, right? They're showing your graduation picture, Mike. Oh my God. Man, I tell you. Whew. I think I choked myself a little too much. But yeah, hey Mike, where was your cap and gown then when you were, manhandling that dude and choking the shit out of him? Where were all these guys' accolades that their defense attorney would be so quick to discuss, when they're committing their crimes? What can I say? That being said, let us not lose sight of the fact that law enforcement are just that. Law enforcement. Okay? They are not the judge, the prosecutor, and definitely should not be the executioner. We are seeing a lot of progress with law enforcement. A lot of increased use of taser, a lot of increased use of good old-fashioned fisticuffs. There you go. A good old-fashioned use of good old-fashioned pugilance. Cops are reaching for their guns much less. They are definitely beginning to understand that there are very serious consequences to reaching for that gun, and the world won't stand for it any longer. The 1950s dragnet tactics, they're not going to put up with that shit any longer. So what can we make of this? We have a police officer that seems to be trying very hard to trigger a green light for a justified shooting. We have a criminal fleeing law enforcement. I'm not going to sit here and use a bunch of sterilized terminology. Just simply call it what it is. We also have an extremely dark backyard. This all took place in extreme low light conditions. Now, as Officer Shepherds would be so quick to point out, what we see on camera isn't always going to be what's seen with the naked eye. I hate to say it, but the truth is that GoPro cameras don't do so hot at night. You will record something that looks, you'll go to record something with, an action camera or even your cell phone, and you'll think that, okay, well, it's not the won't be the greatest of picture, but we at least should be able to see it. And then of course when you go to replay the video or look at the picture, you know, it's like black. You know, where the hell is the thing I was, you know, recording? Where is it at? You can't see it at all. Well, that's because a camera is it's not as sophisticated as the human eye. The human eye can see much more. You know, without segueing too much into another topic, you know, it does have a bit of a vice versa. You know, there when dermatologists want to see the whole ultraviolet damage, well, they use a special camera. So vice versa, the human eye can see a lot of things that cameras cannot, and the camera can see the spectrum of light that the human eye cannot detect. So, such as the police helicopter's infrared, I believe it was infrared or night vision or whatever, you know. So I know the anguished grandmother, shoot him in his leg, use a taser, use this and that. I spoke about this as well. This is not the movies. This is not where we see our action hero being shot at and the action hero will miraculously leap, you know, off to the side, something like what, 10 feet horizontally. Do you get out of here? I don't even think an Olympian, you know, from a standstill, no running start or anything, just simply jump 10 feet horizontally. It's you know, behind a pillar, a concrete pillar that always seems to be there to hide behind, or a car, and all this stuff is carefully choreographed, carefully staged. Oh, man, I could seriously use something to drink. There you go. Not my diet do, but it'll do in a pinch. Alright, I see my time's getting long here. Let me wrap this thing up. Okay, yeah, so let's get into this responsibility thing here. These police officers, oh yeah, good lord, it was a hail of bullets. I want to say something here, a theory, a forensic theory that I'm working with. This is neither speaking for or against the cops, but and of course I don't know personally the acoustics of the area, the driveway, whatnot. You guys may know, sometimes when you're bouncing a basketball, it has that weird reverberating effect. So there might be, you don't know what the acoustics are. And the reason why I say this is the possibility that these cops unleash such a folly of gunfire is that they may have been return firing to the sound, to the echoed sound of their own gunfire, meaning they may have believed that that the suspect was firing at them and they were returning fire to that fire, and of course the suspect never had a gun. They were not returning fire, they were just simply shooting at echoes of their own gunfire. And of course there was a whole bunch of them shooting too, so you know, it's alright, I'm moving on to this responsibility thing. I've spoken about this particular brand of responsibility before. Black people, or even anybody, you know, but you know, it's seen as how, you know, black people themselves will say that it is definitely black people that stand a far more chance of being shot and killed. You know, it happens to white people too, but these urban youth are going to have to get it in their head that you know, when you create, when you do things that create these ambiguous, hostile situations. These police officers, they do want to go home at the end of the night. You know, they want to go back to their families. I think it's safe to say that, you know, it's not like these cops, all of them anyway, they don't roll out of bed with bloodlust. You know, how can I shoot and kill me a nigga today? Not all of them. Some of them do, but not all of them. It's all very ambiguous at this point. How much of this is a few bad apples? If there's anything I will say is that the ubiquity of the camera is definitely showing us that it's not so much of a few bad apples. It's definitely turning into a situation of a poisonous orchard. So, the situation with bad cops is a lot more, it's worse than what law enforcement is willing to admit. That being said, black people, you are creating situations for your own fucking death, okay? You're starting with the fact that you're engaged in criminal behavior. And when you have been caught, you need to learn when the jig is up, and when the jig is up, and the jig is up. For those of us, myself, who are innocent and they are being arrested, this is where things get difficult. You see, police, they do operate above the law. Officer Ralph Burke will never even be brought up on charges for unlawfully arresting me, abducting me, forcing me to have medical examinations that I didn't want, causing me incredible psychological damage. And you know, I get a lot of this shit too on this channel, that I'm always angling for a civil, a lawsuit, a bunch of money, and that just simply is not the truth at all. Even though we do live in a society where you can sue for both criminal and civil, but if this was some sort of a reality where you had to choose between the two, if you sued for one, you couldn't do the other, I would go criminal every single time. Okay, I am not I don't have a lot of ambition for money and things like that. Hello, this channel is not monetized. Alright, let me get back to my topic here. Police need to be held accountable. Police, they use internal affairs as a shield to hide behind, and they've been doing this for a very long time. A citizen can't just simply sign charges against a police officer. It always seems to go through internal affairs. We will be the adjudicator as to whether or not this officer broke a law. Police officers investigating, it's their friends. Friends investigating friends. We investigated ourselves, and you know what? We found we didn't do anything at all wrong. You see, that kind of above the law shit is what's causing people to ambush, shoot your ass. Okay? And it's also what's causing a lot of people to run and flee from you, because they know fair justice does not await them. Okay? We're talking about judges that just simply, they don't even want laws read aloud in courtrooms. Okay? If the police want more cooperation from the public, then police need to be able to be held accountable by that very same public. Okay? We want charges. Basically, that's where I'm going with all this. We demand the right to be able to fucking charge your ass and bring you up on charges the way you do us. Okay? Enough of this internal affairs crap. Enough of these ridiculous exoneration letters that get sent out. Matter of fact, I bet they're even already typed up. Just fill in the new date and the new name. Okay? New dates and new names for all involved. It's already typed up. Cut and paste. Well, that's okay. Because obviously, radical factions out there are definitely showing us that there is indeed a treatment, a cure. Yes, Dr. Terrorism. It terrorizes you, doesn't it? So fearful. Oh my God. You create the situations that put your own lives in danger. You're just as bad as the suspects that you're chasing. Both of you, criminal and law enforcement alike, you're putting your own lives in danger. And frankly, neither one of you seem to speak the language of peace. Maybe that's why you hate each other so much, because you're so goddamn much alike. I can't just be peaceful. Snatch me off the street just for riding a bicycle. About to throw me in a jail for not paying your bullshit fines just for riding a bicycle. You damage, you radicalize, you take the normal and you make us not normal. You terraform a terrorist. You graft violence onto a peaceful world. I grow weary fighting against your terraforming efforts. I don't want to be violent. All I ever wanted in life was just to be peaceful. But you're just hell-bent, aren't you? Hell-bent on terraforming a terrorist. Total Control 871.